The other day I was talking to somebody and it reminded me of a topic I should make a video about. You see, when you're deaf, people that don't understand what it's like to be deaf can have some funny misconceptions sometimes. Sometimes they're serious, sometimes they really don't know, but sometimes the questions are funny. So they come from being uneducated about it. Doesn't mean they're not smart, they just haven't been around people that are deaf, so they don't really know much about it. Just to give you an example, I don't know how many times I meet somebody, I tell them I'm deaf, and they ask me if I read Braille. Think about that. It's blind, not deaf. I get questions like that all the time. People sometimes get surprised when you can drive a car. They say, oh, I didn't know deaf people can drive. Think about it. How many times have you got in an accident because you couldn't hear? Yeah, people say you can't hear the ambulance, you can't hear the car horn. Yeah, but even when you hear the ambulance, you have to find out where it is. The sound of it isn't with the warning, that just tells you to start looking. There's been studies that deaf people in general are usually better drivers because they're very observant. They're constantly aware of their surroundings. So they usually see a fire truck or a police car or an ambulance before most people hear it. And think about it, driving a car, people drive with a loud radio, they can't hear anything. It doesn't affect their driving, so why wouldn't it affect somebody that's deaf? Deaf people can drive just like anybody else can. There are some people, usually from ignorance, but they think that somehow the deafness affects their intelligence. Of course, that's far from the truth. Deaf people can be just as smart or dumb as anybody else, actually. But think about it. A deaf person spends a lot of time just thinking. They're sitting with a group of people, and they're talking, and they can't really join in very well. What they do, they sit there and they'll think about things. So they're used to just mulling things over in their mind in those times to pass the time. So of course, deafness has nothing to do with your intelligence. Another thing people ask about is sign language. They say it's so fast. How can they read it that fast? It's just like when you read paper text. You don't read every single letter. You see one word. If somebody said a sentence in sign language, with practice, they see it all at once. It's just one glance. How are you? That's how you. But that's another thing. When they do sign language, they don't sign every word. It's a different language. It's a different construction than English. I wouldn't say how are you. I'd say how you. The R is kind of wasted word and wasted hand movement. So it just takes practice to sign that fast and read that fast. So I know some of those things are kind of funny, but I've been asked so many different questions about deafness and people don't understand it. I just wanted to point out a few of those things.